Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Houston Rockets Daily, back at it with a late night upload. Feels good to be back on, honestly, just late night uploads, but to be on the grind again now that we are done with college. So with that being said, if you enjoy this video, like daily Rockets content, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Shout out to my Discord. Actually, shout out to jae'sean, or I guess that's not his YouTube. What is it? JDC. I think his YouTube's just straight up JDC, but go check him out. He'll probably drop a comment down below. I'll make sure to heart it. But he sent in my Discord, which you can also join, link in bio. This is not a promotional video. He sent that, I think it was a tweet from Jonathan Fine or whatever the Houston Rockets journalist guy named Jonathan is, that the Rockets are actually supposed to be a possible suitor and candidate for a Collin Sexton signing. So basically the situation going on in Cleveland right now is Collin Sexton suffered a devastating injury only 11 games into the season. 16 points per game. Keep in mind, I actually don't even really want to tell you his splits for the season. 45 from the field, 24 from downtown. That's not Collin Sexton. The 45%, that's actually a pretty good rating, but that 3-point percentage is not him. He's a career 38% shooter. You know how the first 10 games of a season in any sport goes, so I don't need to explain it. Made the all-rookie team a couple of years ago in his first year, but his contract's going to be done with Cleveland right now. So the good news with that is he's going to be on the chopping block. And you can go out, you can probably sign him. I highly doubt Cleveland retains him just for financial purposes. Basically, the way I see it with Cleveland is you've had the emergence of Darius Garland in the last 2 years, but more specifically this past season. And with Cleveland actually making, the play-in tournament after being the third pick in last year's draft, very similar to the Raptors, just both had great seasons. Now it's like, all right, well, Darius Garland's like a stud, dude. Like, he's on his way to becoming a possible superstar in the league. He's an all-star, though. I mean, I don't think you can really argue to me that Darius Garland isn't an all-star, because he is. Like, he's a stud. So that leaves young bull, a.k.a. Collin Sexton, on the block, in free agency block, because he's going to want a pretty penny. And, in today's video, we're talking about the thing with Houston. I don't actually understand it at all. The good news is, especially, I'm not saying, this was like clickbait by Jonathan or fake news or anything like that, but, expressing interest is one thing than like ready to make an offer. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm being real, I don't envision a world where the Rockets are actually interested in Collin Sexton. Not only can they not afford him financially, but you have Kevin Porter Jr., and if you've been watching my videos recently, I need Kevin next year to be on the Rockets. I need him to be the starting point guard on a prove-it year. It's the last year of his contract, of his rookie contract that he signed in Cleveland, and I need him on a prove-it deal. Like, I just need him to start next season because I think he has something special. He has been improving ever since he got into the NBA, and I just need him to be the point guard for one more season. So Collin Sexton, well, the career 3.3 assists might be the giveaway. This past season, only 2.1 assists, but he's not really a point guard. He's more of a shooting guard. First couple of seasons he did play, I guess, more of a ball handling role. But like I said, once Darius Garland kind of not only got to Cleveland, but kind of came into his own shoes, the Collin Sexton ball handling as like the primary point guard, those days were over. So you have him as a shooting guard. I don't think I need to explain why I wouldn't want Collin Sexton to be signed as the Houston Rockets shooting guard. Jalen Green. So, to just put it into reality, it's not going to make sense. It's just not going to make sense. I mean, it sucks because I love Collin Sexton. Like, I actually remember watching him at Alabama. Like, I remember watching highlights, like, before he got drafted in 2018, like, literally, you could go on Twitter whenever Collin Sexton played and had a good game at Bama, and it wouldn't be all over the feed, but like you'd see some tweets. There were some tweets about Collin Sexton, and so I remember like looking him up. I remember watching his highlights, keeping up to date with him, keeping track of him, and just being like, damn, like this guy is really solid. Did I know he was going to average like 24 points per game last season? Not really. Granted, I guess it was the suffering Cleveland Cavaliers, because it wasn't this past year, it was 2 years ago. Before Evan Mobley, before a lot of their squad got there, in that LeVert trade, not the LeVert trade, in the Jared Allen trade. So, 24.3, I'm sure it's boosted, inflated a little bit, but he can still score. That's not the question. There's no role for him on Houston. There really is no role. And like I said, even if the Rockets weren't sold on Kevin Porter Jr., the only world I could see this happening is if Kevin Porter Jr., if it was 1 year from now, so instead of him being a free agent this year, it was a year from now, and Kevin Porter Jr. in next year's season, hypothetically speaking, sucked ass. And that's the only way I could really make it make sense in my head, because the way I see it is, all right, well, even if Kevin had a doggy year last year, I don't want context to be in the point guard. I don't really trust his playmaking outside of himself ability. I don't want to say he's known as as a selfish guy, as a ball hog, but the career 3.3 assists, kind of shows you something. I mean, he's never averaged more than 4.4 assists per game in a season. So it's like you have Jalen Green. The only way I could fathom it times two is if they're like, all right, yeah, KPJ experiment's over, didn't work, like a lot of you haters on Rocket Sphere, and they're like, I'm done with it. Stone's like, F it, I'm done with it. He walked out on the team this past season. Who knows? It might have really pissed Stone off. Play devil's advocate. Maybe it pissed him off a lot. And he was like, Wood's gone, KPJ's gone, F both those guys. We're building a culture here. And that's not really that far-fetched. But given his age and given how much resources and time that, assets that Houston has put into Kevin, it's highly unlikely in my head. So maybe if they're like, yeah, Kevin's done, that experiment's done, and we're gonna roll with Jalen Green as our long-term point guard. You know what I'm saying? What? Really? That's crazy. Even if you keep KPJ and put him on the bench, it doesn't make sense financially, and that doesn't really make sense in its own. So I'm hoping this is just, hot air, and I'm really just kind of hoping there's nothing there. And that's nothing against Collin Sexton. I hope he goes to, some team, whatever team he goes to, and balls his ass off, because he's a hell of a basketball player, and he's pretty young too. So, 23, 24 years old. So, he's young, man. He's young, and he's going to get paid. Just not in Houston. So let me know what you think down below, if you agree, disagree, any thoughts on Sexton joining the Houston Rockets, and hit that like button, hit that sub button. I'll see you guys later.